G'day everybody, my name is Lowell and welcome to the channel. So we have a reaction video for us today. This is going to be 10 ways Americans see the world differently. So let's jump in. Let's have a look at this one today.
10 ways Americans see the world differently.
Okay.
The world looks different depending on where you stand, and few countries illustrate that better than the United States. From everyday conversations to career decisions and travel habits, Americans often approach life in ways that surprise visitors from around the globe. Some of these perspectives are shaped by geography, others by culture, and many by simple everyday experience. Stay until the end, because the number one entry reveals the mindset that ties everything together. Welcome to 10 ways Americans see the world differently. 10. Distance feels relative. For many Americans, driving several hours for a weekend trip isn't unusual. A 4-hour drive may simply be considered a day trip. While
I can understand that. Being from Australia, 4-hour drive is nothing for us. We got a long way between towns here. So I could see that. If you're coming from Europe or the UK, 4 hours is that's almost half your country. So, I can understand the difference in that for sure.
Isn't unusual.
Yeah.
A 4-hour drive may simply be considered a day trip, while crossing multiple states by car is common during vacations. The United States covers an enormous area, so people often think differently about distance than those living in smaller countries.
Yeah.
Flying between cities like New York, Chicago, Dallas, and Los Angeles is a routine part of business and family life for millions. Visitors are sometimes surprised when an American casually says a destination is just a few hours away, only to discover it involves driving hundreds of miles.
Yep.
That unique sense of scale shapes many other aspects of American life. 9. Moving is part of life. Americans are generally more likely than many people around the world to relocate for education, employment, or lifestyle.
I've heard this, and I've heard of people actually doing it as well in real life. I'm moving to this state for a job, or I'm moving to that state for a job. It definitely doesn't happen that much in the UK. I lived in the UK when I was in my 20s, originally from there, but you hear of people that live in the same street. They live in that street because their parents live in that street and whatever else. They might move to a few suburbs over, but they certainly don't move, too far away. I'm just thinking in Australia, I don't think I've only lived in 2 states in Australia. When we first moved to Australia, we lived in New South Wales, and then we moved to Queensland, and I'm still in Queensland. So, but I guess it doesn't happen as much maybe as in America. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not as frequent as you hear of it in America, especially for employment. I've maybe heard of 2 people in my life that has moved, especially down to Sydney. Oh, we're going to Sydney for a job, promotion and whatever else. So I don't think that's definitely as frequent as in America as well. So
people around the world to relocate for education, employment, or lifestyle. Someone might attend college in one state, begin a career in another, and eventually retire somewhere completely different. According to US Census Bureau data, millions of Americans move each year, although mobility has gradually declined compared with previous decades. Rather than seeing relocation as disruptive, many view it as an opportunity to improve their lives or experience somewhere new. That willingness to start fresh creates a culture that often embraces change. 8. Convenience is highly valued.
Yep.
Americans often organize daily life around saving time. Drive-through pharmacies, curbside grocery pickup.
Drive-through pharmacies. Now, I only learned the other day, a couple of videos ago, that they have drive-through banks, ATMs. I've never seen that before. We don't have that here in Australia. We have drive-through coffee shops, drive-through bottle-os where you get your alcohol. We don't have any drive-through pharmacies. Yeah, we don't have a lot of drive-through stuff, but I can understand it. I can definitely understand that convenience. Don't have to get out of your car. I mean, you look at Walmart. Everything is there for your convenience. You don't have to go anywhere else. That's the whole point of it. Whereas here, if you went shopping, you'd have to go to this store and that store and that store because they're not all together. It's very inconvenient. I can understand convenience. I'm all for it. I'm all for convenience for sure.
Around saving time. Drive-through pharmacies, curbside grocery pickup, online banking,
we had that,
self-checkout machines, food delivery apps, and next-day shipping have become normal parts of everyday routines.
I mean, the majority of that Menulog and Uber Eats and, Amazon, you can get anything on Amazon and get it next day delivered, if they have it, obviously. Most of that is okay. We have all that convenience. We've actually caught up with the world. But yeah, the drive-throughs, we still haven't taken them on. Drive-through bank, I don't even know the last time I even went to a bank because it's all online. Why do you need to go to a bank? I don't know.
And next-day shipping have become normal parts of everyday routines. Instead of spending extra time running errands, many people prefer paying slightly more if it makes life easier. Convenience isn't necessarily viewed as a luxury. It's often seen as an efficient use of time.
Yeah.
Visitors frequently notice just how many services are designed to minimize waiting. That focus on efficiency extends well beyond shopping. 7. Innovation is expected.
Okay.
Americans often assume that tomorrow's technology will improve today's, whether it's smartphones, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, streaming platforms, or household appliances. There is a widespread expectation that products and services will continue evolving. Businesses compete by introducing new ideas, while consumers are often willing to try innovations that promise greater convenience or better performance. This mindset helps explain why startups, new inventions, and technological breakthroughs receive so much attention in the United States. Halfway through 10 ways. Americans
there's a lot of countries out there doing great innovation things, I could see why it would be concentrated in America, Silicon Valley and all that kind of stuff that they have. I can understand with the companies, pushing for it and, the best one gets all the funding. So everybody wants the funding. I can understand that, but there's definitely countries out there doing great things with innovation. So maybe a little bit more concentrated in America, but definitely not the only ones. That's for sure.
In the United States. Halfway through 10 ways. Americans see the world differently. One thing becomes clear. Many Americans naturally look toward what's next instead of what's already been. 6. Friendly conversation is normal. One of the first things many international...
This has come up with so many of the videos I've done in the last couple of weeks with the World Cup, tourists being here and people realizing that America is generally pretty friendly, This has come up a lot, friendly conversation is normal. You start talking to somebody and whatever else. I've been trying to think of the last couple of weeks, when was the last time I actually stopped in the street in Australia or even in a supermarket and actually had an actual conversation with somebody? I can't remember. Genuinely stopping and actually, not just the, oh, g'day, how you going? But, a real conversation, I can't remember. And that's pretty sad. So I don't know if that's just me that I don't stop and talk. Is that because, we're pretty friendly as Australians, but it's that kind of surface friendliness. There's no real deep conversations. I don't know how deep the conversations are and they're saying in this video, but I don't see that here. I can't remember the last time I stopped and had a conversation with somebody anywhere in the street, in the supermarket, anywhere in Australia. Maybe it's just me. Maybe people see me and don't want to talk to me. I don't know. But definitely not quite as normal as the States, I would say. So
friendly conversation is normal. One of the first things many international visitors notice is how easily Americans strike up conversations. Someone standing beside you in a supermarket line might comment on the weather. A cashier may ask how your day is going. A neighbor might wave while walking their dog. These interactions are usually expressions of politeness rather than invitations to develop close friendships. People from cultures where strangers rarely speak to one another sometimes find this openness surprising at first.
Yeah.
But for many Americans, brief conversations simply make public spaces feel more welcoming. That everyday friendliness reflects an optimistic style of communication, and our top 5 reveal even bigger cultural differences.
Okay.
5. Opportunity often comes before tradition.
Woo. Being British born and coming from the UK with British parents, tradition is a big thing. Can't do anything new. It's always, we do that because that's the way it's been done. It's always that way. That's the way it's done. Why do we have a Sunday roast? Because their parents had it and their parents before them had it. That's why we do it. So tradition can be a good thing, but it can also make you stuck in the mud too, because you're missing out on a lot of new stuff, and a lot of good new stuff. So I don't know. Let's have a look what they
5.
say.
Opportunity often comes before tradition. Americans frequently place a strong emphasis on creating new opportunities rather than following long-established paths.
Yeah.
Changing careers in your 30s or 40s, starting a business later in life, or moving across the country for a better job is often viewed as perfectly normal. While success depends on many factors, there is a widespread belief that people can continue learning and reinventing themselves throughout life. This outlook encourages lifelong learning, professional development, and entrepreneurship. It's one reason the United States consistently ranks among the world's leading countries for startup activity and new business creation. That belief in opportunity naturally connects to another defining characteristic.
I was thinking that when they're talking about, becomes before tradition, the first thing I thought is, the UK where people don't move away. But then I was thinking, do you know what? No, because my parents did that. They moved from Scotland to Australia when I was a kid. Nobody ever does that. This was 1980, going back, way back in the 1900s. And I was just thinking, actually, you know what? We broke tradition. We didn't stay in Scotland. We didn't grow up in Glasgow where I was born. We broke all of that. We moved to Australia. Damn, I got to reassess my life a little bit. Dang, okay. That just hit me. Hit me there for a moment. I thought, hang on a minute. My parents did that. We, not even across the country, we moved 13,000 miles away. Good on mum and dad. Damn, okay.
4. Choice is seen as freedom. Many visitors are amazed by the sheer number of choices Americans have in everyday life. Walk into a supermarket and you might find dozens of brands of bread, hundreds of breakfast cereals, and entire aisles dedicated to coffee. The same applies to restaurants, streaming services, mobile phone plans, and even toothpaste. For many Americans, having options means having control over personal decisions. Rather than accepting a single standard choice, people often compare prices, read reviews, and customize purchases to fit their preferences. This emphasis on individual choice has become a defining feature of an American consumer culture, and it doesn't stop with shopping. 3. Confidence is often encouraged.
This has come up in another video, why Americans are so confident. I found it fascinating. Very, very interesting.
3. Confidence is often encouraged. Americans are often encouraged from a young age to express their opinions and communicate confidently. Classroom discussions, presentations, debates, and extracurricular activities frequently reward participation rather than silence. Later in life, job interviews typically expect applicants to highlight their strengths instead of downplaying them. This doesn't mean every American is naturally outgoing. Personality varies everywhere. However, confidence is often viewed as a valuable professional and social skill that helps people seize opportunities. Visitors sometimes notice that Americans are comfortable introducing themselves, networking with strangers, or discussing future ambitions. That confidence supports another important way many Americans view the world. 2. The future is full
Yeah.
of possibilities.
You always hear it, that American dream. You can be anything you want. That's the dream. You can be anything. We used to say, I don't know if anybody still says it now these days, that we used to live in the lucky country here in Australia. Same kind of thing. You put a little bit of hard work, you'll be able to get in. But on the other hand, we have this thing called the tall poppy syndrome in Australia. You get too big for your britches. You get too big. You get too you feel like you're kind of almost bragging a little bit. Some of your friends, and they cut you off at the knees. Hence the tall poppy. Tall poppies get cut down. Bring you back down to earth a little bit. So there is that kind of encouragement somewhat. But then if you have too much, it's like, whoa, just slow down there, son. Don't get too big for your britches. Whereas in America, it's like, oh, yeah, good. You got that, your support network bolstering you up to be able to reach those heights as well. The American dream. Just
Optimism about the future remains a common theme in American culture. Whether someone is pursuing higher education, inventing new technology, building a small business, or changing careers, there is often an expectation that tomorrow can be better than today. Even setbacks are frequently described as learning experiences rather than permanent failures. While not everyone shares the same outlook, this forward-thinking mindset influences everything from business and education to scientific research and innovation. Many visitors notice that conversations often focus less on where someone has been and more on where they hope to go next. That brings us to the perspective that shapes almost every other entry on this list. 1. Individual freedom shapes everyday thinking.
okay.
Perhaps the biggest way Americans see the world differently is through the importance placed on individual freedom and personal responsibility. For many Americans, freedom means having the ability to choose where to live, what career to pursue, how to spend free time, and how to build a personal future. Alongside those freedoms comes an expectation that individuals accept responsibility for the choices they make. This perspective influences education, careers, travel, entrepreneurship, volunteering, and countless everyday decisions. Although Americans hold a wide range of political, social, and cultural views, the value placed on personal independence is one of the country's most recognizable characteristics. For many visitors, this mindset helps explain countless aspects of American culture that might otherwise seem surprising. It is a perspective shaped by history, geography, diversity, and everyday experience, and it continues to influence how millions of Americans see the world. Different cultures view life through different lenses, and that's exactly what makes exploring them so fascinating. 10 Ways Americans See the World differently shows that understanding another perspective often helps us better understand our own. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.
That was an interesting video. That brought up some interesting points, some interesting talking points for sure. The way Americans see the world, it's fairly similar to the rest of us, but there's some differences there for sure. But that it's all about that, as I said at the end there, that personal freedom. You do what you want, you work where you want, you live where you want. If you have a hobby, you're free to do that hobby and everything else. I did a reaction video a couple of days ago, and it was just about the deep south, and they were just on a boat and they were flying through this, the bayou and whatever. Do you know what all I was thinking when I was watching that was, wow, they get to speed through this this bayou going whatever speed they were going. And then there was another boat coming the other way. They were both doing the same speed, whatever else. I first thought was, oh, you better slow down. The police will get you. That's the first thing I thought. And I thought, no, why? Why are you thinking like that? They're allowed to do it. They're free to do it. I don't know. You think you're free, and then all of a sudden you have that, you're free to do something, but within a limit. And, you can't go over 4 with the wash and everything else, when anybody else is around. And it's just like, damn, that's all I could think about, that the punitive, what's going to happen if you get caught doing something, you know. Whereas Americans, it's like, yeah, this is my pastime. I'm doing it because I like it and I'm free to do it. You know, there's definitely freedom in that freedom, if that makes sense, I guess. But that's an interesting video. Very, very interesting video. So let me know if you enjoyed that one, guys. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe. And I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?